Hello and welcome to Green Outlook, a student perspective. Green Outlook is a student-led panel discussion on a global environmental issue. The five panelists for the second installation will bring their expertise from various backgrounds of study, from three different universities and across three different countries, to help understand the root of the issue, the current situation, and explore global solutions that are being implemented to mitigate this crisis. Our topic of discussion for this installation is marine plastic pollution.
Now, before we get started, I'd like to make an acknowledgement of country. I'll invite our panelists and viewers to take a moment to pay our respects to the traditional owners of the land you are on. In Brisbane, Australia, that's the Jagera and Turrbal people. I'd like to also show my respect for the profound and long-standing connection traditional owners have with their land, and I hope that through Green Outlook we can regenerate our natural waterways. The Green Outlook aims to realise the opportunities that we have to make a difference as young professionals, to take action. It's about promoting a spirit of collaboration and creating networks of future professionals passionate about the environment. This installation, we will be contributing to the 14th United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, Life Below Water. For the next hour, my co-host Gupta and I will act as facilitators for this discussion. So, who are we?
Well, my name is Gopika Venugopal. I'm doing my postgraduate degree in environmental engineering at Griffith University. My professional interests lie in environmental management, policy, and sustainable practices. As your co-host for today, I'm excited to guide this dialogue and understand the marine plastic issue on a deeper level. I'm also hoping that this installation of Green Outlook helps inspire people to contribute to a study or cause that they're passionate about, however big or small it might be.
And I'm Selena Ferguson. I'm in my final year of Bachelor of Environmental Engineering. I'm passionate about helping to facilitate the global transition to a more circular and regenerative economy by designing out waste and using waste resources more effectively. I value creative innovation and systems thinking to minimize our environmental impact. In this second installment, I look forward to facilitating collaboration between our amazing panelists and empower young people to take action.
Thanks, Selena. It is with absolute pleasure that I now introduce the panelists for the second installation of Green Outlook, starting with Aryan Gupta.
Hey, thank you. Thank you guys, and good morning, because it's morning here for me. My name, as you guys know, is Aryan. I am technically from India, but I've been born and brought up in the Middle East my whole life. I am a master's student currently studying renewable energy, and I'm hoping to become an offshore industry expert by the end of this year. My main areas lie more than offshore into energy policies. I believe that we as a generation are gifted, to be honest, with an opportunity to actually make a change where we can take on things, in our own hands and derive the change rather than just being, on the back seat and the adults doing it for us. Hoping with this initiative, more people are on the same page, more like-minded people are on the same page, and we guys, make a change finally. Yeah. Thank you. Back to you, Gopika.
Thanks, Aryan. Our second panelist is Lillian Wan.
So my name is Lillian. I'm also entering my final year of Bachelor of Electronics Engineering and Physics, and I am passionate about innovation in general, especially the technical kind, because there are so many problems, I guess, in today's society to do with the environment and educational disparities. And so what I'm excited about with being on this panel tonight is coming together with other students on an issue that is very prevalent, which is marine pollution, which is just one part of the issue, which is environmental issues. So what I'm hoping to do is contribute in the more technical, maybe factual way, and just really participate in this discussion. Thanks.
Thanks, Lily. Our next panelist is Lewis North.
My name is Lewis. I'm in my final year of a Bachelor's of Environmental Engineering and Environmental Science. I'm really looking to focus on sustainable development, whether that be urban development in construction or planning. That could even extend to sort of remediation through past unsustainable practices. In the context of marine pollution, I'm really looking to explore different ways that we can use different solutions from the diversity that this panel offers to find ways to mitigate and stop plastic pollution damaging the environment.
Thanks, Louis. Introducing Tabasa Chelea.
Hi, my name is Tabitha. I'm a first-year student studying a Bachelor of Design in Architecture. I hope to embrace ambiguity by bringing a fresh perspective to every design project. I'm strongly passionate about sustainability and creating a genuine empathic connection with the end user. As a panelist for Green Outlook, I look forward to exploring ways to combat marine plastic pollution, because with one simple decision, we can turn the tide on plastic pollution.
Wow. Thanks, Tabitha. Last but not the least, Chief Mukherjee.
Hi everyone, this is Jeet Mukherjee and I'm in my final year of study of my electrical engineering degree from Central Queensland University, Rockhampton campus. The main thing which brought me to this as a panelist to this Green Outlook was because I believe as young professionals and studying engineering or different things, we are the future creators of this world where we need to have sustainable ways because the Mother Earth is in the need of our like-minded peoples where we look for a sustainable development of this world. And I think that's why I came to this panel. And I think marine plastic pollution, which is one of the major issues now in the present generation, needs to be sorted. And I think people like us will initiate the discussion and will help in mitigating it in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Jeet. So moving on, the second installation of Green Outlook is divided into 3 segments. First is an introductory segment where we understand in detail the problem at hand by asking the big question, what is marine plastic pollution? The second segment explores the existing solutions for this crisis and mitigation measures in place on a global scale. And finally, these 2 segments feed into the finale where our panelists will put their heads together and figure out how they can contribute to the solution in the form of a 2-week project.
So, about our topic, the impact of plastic on our environment, particularly on marine ecosystems, is receiving increasing global attention. This issue is becoming more visible in the news, in our local waterways, in documentaries, and on social media, which is why we have chosen this issue as the topic of discussion for Green Outlook 2.
So, for our viewers who are not acquainted with today's topic of discussion, Louis, would you give us some more information about marine plastic pollution in general?
Marine plastic pollution can take many different forms in how it's viewed. This could be sort of in your bulk plastic products that think your plastic bottle type things that you see as general pollution or litter, or in a more sort of technical and difficult to tackle problem, they break down to these very fine particles called microplastics, which are somewhat naked, well, invisible to the naked eye. And these become very difficult to not only detect, but remove from the environment. And they become very easy to ingest in our different marine species and work their way through the food webs.
That's conclusive. I agree. Lillian, would you like to start us off with introducing some sources of marine plastic pollution?
Definitely. So some sources are single-use plastics. 50% of all plastics made are single-use. So, for example, think of your takeaway cartons and cups and things, straws even. So there's those things like synthetics, tires. There are plastics in our fabric, in the clothes that we wear. I'm reading from a list here. From the fishing industry, there's fishing line is plastic, and also medical waste. These are some of the things.
Yeah, that is a wide variety of sources. Aryan, would you like to add some more sources that you can think of marine plastic pollution?
More than sources, it's actually more of the countries that haven't taken the initiative to actually, counteract this problem. It's more of a governmental policy change that needs to come into place, and people in general have to realize, what is going wrong. The way we are currently living is not the right way. We cannot just go about this. I mean, there are products which are reusable. There are products that biodegrade. There are products and we've known this for more than 100 years, I think now, that plastic is bad for us. Yeah, it is not going anywhere. It is going to be here. So there are a lot of solutions that need, I mean, there are solutions, of course, but there are a lot more that need to rise with people's awareness. And I mean, global warming is the biggest at the moment in people's head, but ocean pollution, plastic in general is a big problem that we really need to mitigate.
Yeah, it is a rising problem, and mitigation is definitely on all our minds and as a part of Green Outlook. So, and I also agree with what Lillian said: single-use plastics, synthetics, and tires, fabrics. All these are some very important sources. So, Tabitha, how do you think these plastic wastes end up in our water bodies? In other words, what are the potential pathways for marine plastic pollution?
Yeah, so floating plastics are currently the most abundant items of marine litter. So most of this waste plastic makes up 80% of a marine debris from the surface waters to deep sea sediment. And these plastics have been detected on shorelines of all the continents, with more plastic materials found near popular tourist destinations and densely populated areas. So all of these are making their ways into the ocean and significantly affecting the marine life as well. So
Yeah, and I like that you brought up marine life, because they are the receptors of this marine plastic crisis that we're facing. So, Jeet, would you like to introduce some organisms or like receptors, like we called it, who are affected by this marine plastic pollution crisis?
I think the entire marine life, majorly, I would say the delicate ecosystems, marine life, which is like the whales and the which we call whales, sharks, the smaller, starting from the smaller plant across smaller phytoplanktons as well. Phytoplankton is a thing which is the main food for the marine life, and the thing is that the plastics which gone there actually makes a layer over them, and then coral reefs also is affected, and like these are the main places where the marine life stays and eats, and they are getting the less oxygen source, which in the long run kills them. So I believe that's what is one of the main reasons where main places where this is being affected.
Agreed.
The
Would
weird,
you?
weird thing is,
Yeah,
we think that plastic is all on the surface, but it's actually not. It's 80% of the plastic is right below the water level. I mean, just under the water surface, which, trust me, we have no idea how polluted the sea and the oceans are. I mean, we assume that the floating plastic is the biggest problem, but you got to see from under, how engraved it is into the ecosystem, and how quickly we need to pull it out.
agreed. And that's really chilling. So thank you, panelists, for that conclusive review.
So now that we understand the problems surrounding marine plastic pollution, let's go around the room and discuss some of the existing initiatives that are being implemented anywhere in the world to address marine plastic pollution. Lillian, would you like to start?
Yeah, I would. I have a very inspiring example from Australia, actually, and it's not necessarily tied to marine pollution, but it's pretty significant. So there's a researcher. Her name escapes me, but I will hopefully we can comment it in when we upload this recording. But she is based at UNSW, and her research career was about turning end products such as tires into starter cycle products again. So she would be converting tires back into its constituent carbon, and then using that for energy, or using that as a base material for something else. So given that, of course, a lot of people on the roads everywhere worldwide, I thought that was a pretty significant, cool breakthrough, to be able to recycle something like that, which is so prolific. So I can see that, yeah, I can see, given that how tires are made of really heavy materials, taking that out of the waterway through recycling would make a really big impact.
Oh, that's a wonderful example. And it's even better because not only are you just keeping it out of waterways, you're not even landfilling it, you're actually recycling it, which is better. Tabitha, do you have another example of an initiative?
Yes, so one initiative that caught my attention, especially from a design background, was precious plastic. So this started in 2013 as a graduation project and quickly evolved into one of the most original and engaging ways of handling plastic waste. And the idea is to build a machine that will allow you to process your own plastic waste and create something new out of it. So some products include furniture, jewelry, and home decor. And for now, they have 4 different processing principles, which include extrusion, injection, compression, and shredding.
Wonderful. That's another great example. Jeet, do
I
you
would love to put, yeah, I would love to have 2 examples. Like recently, I was looking at this 2 initiatives which really caught my eyes. Was again three actually. One of the things was where the tires were used as a source of fuel, which was used to make roads. Like the tire was melted down into a solution, and then that was used for the blackening of the roads, like the road black thing. And the other thing, which as an initiative, which started somewhere in India, where they started using the plastic and they did made it as a liquid form, and then they used it as a brick forms or something like that, which were the building blocks of making pavements and stuff.
So that's been really good. There's a lot of ideas about recycling. Are there any ideas that you guys know of about maybe taking the litter out of the ocean, or maybe preventing the litter from going into the ocean in the first place?
Yes. Yeah, that's like when it's produced, stopping it there, I think is the best thing, because as per marine, most of the pollution which goes in the ocean is starts from the land. It doesn't start from the ocean and goes to the ocean. It starts from the land, then it goes to the ocean. So I think if we have some like alternative packaging for every product, where there's some kind of packaging, that actually leads to, because if like one thing I feel that in the case of CFCs, when chlorofluorocarbons were there, when they were thought that they will be affecting the ozone layer, there was a big memorandum passed in the UN, and then it was banned by every country. So it comes in something like that. Actually, I feel if we can cut like that, it will be really helpful. Like policy change is a big thing in plastic reduction.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah,
on that
Lucas,
policy
go
change,
ahead.
like from where I am in Brisbane, for I suppose across Australia, really, there's always been sort of a local council initiative to try and encourage recycling, providing a bin for that. But although that option is there, because there's no real incentive from the citizens to really do that, it's not, the opportunity is not seized as much, and a very small amount of the waste that's produced that is recyclable is either not recycled or it's wasted in such a way that it's in no condition to be recycled. But what's interesting is with growing attention, some more policy changes in recent years, things like banning plastic bags and to some extent cutlery from supermarkets and stores. But a big thing to note was it included aluminium as well as plastic bottles, but a buyback scheme for sort of drink containers that put a levy on the manufacturers for their bottles, and the citizens who brought them to facilities got 10 cents back, which ultimately ended in some people collecting different plastic bottles from local river streams and parks and things to get a refund on them.
I'd love to jump in, like extending upon that. That's exactly like the recycling scheme was what I was going to bring up. Like the 10-cent refund, I think is one of the best things that's come to Queensland this year, in the past year and a half. I know that South Australia and maybe New South Wales have had this for a while, and I think Western Australia too. But I think it's a great way to kind of monetize good habits when it comes to plastic recycling. And it's really taken off.
Does anyone else have any last initiatives or any before we move on?
Yeah, can I jump in? Okay. For me, it's more like how do we stop it and at the start of it, and how do we capture it? How do we change people's mentality? In 2015, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around September is when the Paris Agreement got signed, 2015 and 2016. And that brought about a huge transition in the way people look at energy. Okay, before it was just coal. I'm sorry, I'm deviating off topic, but I'm going to tell you why I'm going there. It was coal fired, gas chambers. It was natural gas. It was nuclear reactors. But then people realized that this is leading to a catastrophe. In simple words, okay. And we really need to look at how do we deviate from this problem? How do we resolve it? And that's how renewables came into the market. That's how clean energy sources came into the market. And now people are actually thinking, oh, this is a serious problem, and this is how marine plastic, I mean, marine plastic is just the terminology. It's plastic in simple terms, going whether to the marine life, going to land, going anywhere. It's a big problem. And once it's the perception of people that changes, your whole issue is resolved. And it's the policies that come in that support it. And that's a very big thing. Unless your government is is supporting you and giving you like you guys said, 10 cents on a bottle, unless the government is incentivizing you, nobody's going to do it. I mean, no matter how much you think of, oh, I'm going to clean this, or the plastic is going to be remade into this, or we made an eco-friendly product. That's, I'm sorry for the language, but that's all bullcrap. Unless the mindset changes.
That is some, you brought up a lot of very good ideas, and you're really thinking about the whole system, and it definitely is a whole system. We do need the technical side of it, and we do need the community coming together to clean up what is already there. And it's great to see how you guys are all thinking so upstream, not just about when it's already in the ocean, but about how do we prevent it from getting in the ocean. That's very inspiring. So I think we can all agree that there are many remarkable initiatives already in place aiming to address marine plastic pollution, and there is much more that we can do. So how can the five of you guys as a team, and in facilitation with Gopika and I, how can we get involved?
We have understood the situation on a global scale. So like Selena said, it is now the time to ask the question, what can we do?
See, there's already a carbon tax that is being implied on countries now. So that's a good sign, because again, production of plastics does release greenhouse gases, and that kind of does add to the carbon tax of a country. I don't know how much I can emphasize on it, but it is the policies that we should be looking at on an overall level. There are multiple startups that come up, but trust me, it's 70% of the globe the water bodies cover. Even if I make a small device that engulfs the start of a river, we're not genuinely making a change unless you change people's perception on it. And I'm sorry, I've had a lot of lectures recently over energy policies, over market. So that's where my whole mindset's changed. Rather than developing a technical product, it's how do you get this in terms of policy changes. And that's
a great point, Jeet. Yeah, Ariane, that's very, very good.
Yeah.
I'd like to pass on to a few of our other panelists, but first,
Yeah.
So the idea now is that we're going to brainstorm some ideas, and it's great. Ariane's already getting right into this. We're going to discuss them as a team, and then you guys are going to decide which one you want to do as your 2-week team project. So you can choose whatever you want to do. The sky is really the limit.
So as a team, starting with Tabitha, let's go around the room suggesting ideas for a potential 2-week team project. We just have to make sure that it's something that we can attain in 2 weeks' time. So Tabitha, do you have any ideas?
So yeah, I was having a look at some small awareness campaigns and like short clips of like animations and illustrations, and one that kind of caught my attention because it was quite short and sweet as well was the spaghetti analogy, where they explain that the pressure that we put on social and ecological systems is like the pressure we put on this piece of spaghetti. If we keep pushing, it's bound to break.
Agreed. And that will be impressive. So you're suggesting we come up with a similar analogy for addressing marine plastic, the pollution problem, and which I understand from the group is based on somewhere stopping this issue at the source. That's really interesting. anybody else want to chime in with their idea?
Building on the points that have been made, it's in terms of us sort of being a largely student base, it's most effective, I think, to try and stop at the source, because trying to sort of clean the things requires resources and financing and different technologies. But the simplest thing you can do is just abstain from using plastic products in a sense and promote that to some degree. And it's interesting the point was raised about different government policies, when ultimately, as you were saying, that it's about public perception. If public perception is that plastics are bad and they need to get rid of, they'll put their votes or interests for the government and that pressure to put for policy change. So it's ultimately about having that quick analogy to really draw that perception of plastics as being an immediate problem and being something that should be worried about.
Agreed.
That's a really great angle to go at it from, Lewis. Lillian, do you have an idea?
To build on what Lewis was just saying. And also building on what Tabitha said about that you kind of need to change people's perception and raise awareness for plastic should be avoided where we can. It would be so cool to make like this social media thing where we kind of collect all our plastic for a week and just take a picture of it, or even after a month, like take a picture of it, all that we've amassed after that time, just to see how much we use plastic, and B, I guess like what types and maybe realizing how much isn't recycled, because I know Coles has like the soft plastic recycling scheme. I know I've been trying to recycle my soft plastics for a year now, and I haven't been successful. So I recycle everything else, but not those. So I think personally it would be really interesting to see my impact. And I would love to do a literature review on this. Like Ariane's brought up about international policy on kind of like waste management. I think it would be really interesting to put a magnifying glass on that and bring this to light.
I'm
so sorry.
I definitely know you can do multiple things if you want to split off into little subgroups, and data collection is a great way to show policymakers and show councillors what's happening. Yep, good idea. And just before we go back around, Jeet, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes. The thing is that's what I was thinking. Like, what I was thinking, like, because we are all university students, what we can do is like, as of like for the 2 weeks, if we can think of something like how we can influence the universities, because the universities have students, and how as universities we can start using less plastic around in the universities. Like if we solve that kind of like it also has a chain kind of thing, which I believe, because if you start the initiative in the university, that mindset goes into the students, and that mindset actually nurtures students to teach other students, and then that keeps your mindset keeps on. So I believe that if something on the university level we can think of, like for example any alternatives to the present university places, how we can change the packaging or anything like that, whatever we are getting from the university, how can we reuse it or something like that.
That's an interesting point. You're suggesting a more targeted approach for an initiative.
Yes. And because it's a 2 weeks time. Yes, a 2 weeks time. Yeah. So I think if we can kind of like target it rather than going for a broader perspective, that would be more better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Can I jump in again?
Yes, please.
I'm so sorry, but my whole idea goes around looking at it at a more holistic point of view. All right. If I go ahead and you go ahead and influence your university, we're just going to that again. We're going to that one particular spot. You're not looking at the percentage of the whole. I mean, pick out the biggest producers of plastics. Do you guys know the name of them? It's Coca-Cola, it's P&G, all these massive players in the market. They are the ones that we need to target at. They are the ones that will actually show you a percentage decrease on a global scale. And what's already done, we need to find a way to remove that. But on another hand, you need to stop the current production.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, I think you brought up an excellent point. So if you were to kind of summarize this into a 2-week project that the 5 people on this call could do, how would you bring that into action?
We could do a report analysis. I mean, again, we're really far away. Me going to a university and talking and wasting my time uh, could, I mean, I don't think is the best way to go ahead. We need to come up with a qualitative, and a quantitative report stating that, this is how it is. This is the figures. This is how the arena, I think it's International Renewable Energy Society, United Nations, they come up with reports and say, this is where we stand currently, and these are the actions. Then we find the key stakeholders, then we grow this initiative, we take it further, we connect to more people, we we grow that way. I mean,
I love the forward thinking, Aaron. But just keeping it for today as our 2-week project, I think what I heard, you were kind of leaning towards what Lillian was suggesting before, and maybe do some data collection and maybe a literature review to like complement that, and write it up in a little report. And we could actually, well, what do you guys, what would you want to do with that report once it's done? Lewis or Tabitha, would you like to jump in here?
Can you hear me or still?
Yep.
Yep. I think that's great. Building on that kind of collected data to outline the problem and to sort of that extent. But I think from our perspective, we've kind of got a handle on how much plastic is out there and what the sort of problem really is. So I think it'd be interesting to try and find that data, really outline the problem, but then contextualize it in a way that's really sort of everyday and extends to a really broad scope of people, because that's ultimately the most effective way to do it. We could go on to years and years of studies in detail about the sort of the scope of the problem, but if we're only reaching people that sort of are interested into the same level we all are here today, it's not really going to reach that wide range that really needs to be out there to stop the problem. So I think building on Tabitha's point of just having that really effective, just sort of one line or one sentence that we can sort of find in that data to really outline what's going on to that extent, and really communicate what we understand on such a wider scope, so that everyone just stops and takes a minute and think about really, oh, okay, that's how bad the problem is, or that's where we're at.
It sounds like, I like to use the phrase creating a narrative, which is what Tabitha suggested right at the beginning, which I think is awesome. Tabitha, would you like to say, what are you thinking at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think going off what Lewis just said was, we all know this is a problem, and I think we need to really like hone in on the fact that like people don't exactly, they don't know the scale of it, I guess, or as such. They know it's like a problem, but they like, we need that kind of one-liner that is really going to bring this home, and like that people can really be responsive and kind of even share their thoughts as well on this matter as well online. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lillian, what are you thinking?
Thanks. I think it'd be really interesting if we could add a survey in to see what people are thinking, like actually get their words, and maybe the one-liner will come out of the works.
Perhaps.
I'll throw it out because I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's been, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, but I'm sure there's been some campaign or something that's effective in this, I guess, that's happened previously, but for the life of me, I can't think of one. If anyone can, to give an example. I'm trying to communicate what I'm saying. But just to that extent where there has been, I suppose, there's been environmental problems, I suppose, before in the past, which is what gives me sort of hope about it. And that was fixed once you sort of get people on board with understanding what's going on. Things tend to change quite quickly once that happens. But it's just a matter of what finding resonates, which is common people, because ultimately the reason there's so many single-use plastics is because they're convenient and they're hard to stop using because they're everywhere and they're in everything. So it's that really what's going to cut through that level of convenience to really stop and make people think about it.
Yeah, and if you think about it, all the campaigns that have happened about environmental issues, they've all come from people that have been in the industry for tens of and 20, 30 years. We actually have a unique opportunity as students. We're more of a clean slate. We're more relatable to the average person. So this is quite a unique opportunity. I think this could be a really good project. Does someone want to try and summarize it in one or two sentences? What you think we've all kind of come to a conclusion with here?
I feel like I've spoken a bit, but I can try. Yeah. The way I stand it is understanding at the moment is doing a comprehensive sort of literature review outlining how much plastic is out there, where it's coming from, and who's producing it, and then trying condensing that information to a short form that we can, I suppose, apply on a 2-week basis to as wide scoping audience as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any more comments they want to add? Things that they wanted to add into it?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. This could sound a little far-fetched, but you know, when you go up to people and you tell them, hey, this is your problem, okay, unless you give them a solution to it, they'll be like, oh, thank you for it. You know, they're just like, okay, what do you want me to do with it? No one's got time in the world, and especially people like Coca-Cola CEO that we actually need to target. That's what I'm looking at. I think with finding the datas, we also need to look for how we can give them a solution, saying that, hey, you know what, this is a big problem. I mean, maybe not for you, you're making money out of it, but it is a problem to the world. It is a problem to our generation and the future generation. It is adding to waste. It's adding to carbon emission. It's adding to a lot of things. This is another solution. Are you guys interested in it? I mean, if one doesn't agree, we keep going, we keep coming up with more solutions, and that keeps adding on to it. I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah, what I'm understanding is that, sorry, yeah, go ahead, Lily.
Oh, just a comment. Like if Coke doesn't respond, we might get something from Pepsi and be able to use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Another
true.
thing, I think so, if we are targeting, like, I think we should also, when we are doing the literature review, we should also on the side, we should also see who are we targeting this with to, like, for example, Aryan said Coca-Cola, or like Lillian, like universities or any, like whoever we are targeting it to, we have to find the targeted audience as well. And if we have a target audience, then we can actually generate a comprehensive literature review, which is actually gives a solution as well as a problem with that targeted company or targeted group in mind.
Yeah, I understand. So what I'm seeing is that there is like this common interest to do a huge analysis on the scale of the problem and characterize what is actually going wrong, who is producing it. And then when we narrow it down, we're seeing two target groups, like Jeet mentioned. One is the community itself, so that they're aware of what they're doing. And another target could be the producers themselves and us coming in as young voices, future leaders, saying these are possible solutions that you could look into. And this is all so exciting. So that was a very productive start to our team project. We are very keen to see your project to come to life in 2 weeks. So I guess that brings us to the end of this journey. So if you'll take us away with the reflections.
All right, so today we looked at marine plastic pollution. We discussed some existing solutions, and the panelists decided on the general idea for their team project, which will develop over the next 2 weeks. Gopika, what did you think about our discussion today?
I think this second installation introducing our new segment, the team project, it kind of elevated our practice to a whole another level. And apart from learning about the extents of marine plastic, it was amazing to see all these ideas come to life. So thank you, panelists, and thanks everybody for being a part of this.
Thank you.
What about you, Selena?
Thank you for having us.
Well, for me, it's really energized me, and it's inspiring to see collaboration in action in all the challenges and all the benefits that come from collaboration. It's really great to see so many ideas and so many ways of thinking, and I'm so glad that we're focusing more on the upstream rather than the downstream, trying to take litter out of the oceans. So it's very proactive. I'm so impressed with all of our panelists, and I'm very, very excited to see what comes next with the team project. So panelists, I'm very excited to hear briefly what you thought about the discussion and how you're feeling about the upcoming team project. Lewis, would you like to start?
I think similar to what you've just said, I'm energized, I guess. I suppose we're all in this perspective of we have this interest of these sort of environmental issues, and I think from my perspective at least anyway, you can get quite bogged down thinking about it yourself. You don't really talk about it with a lot of other people, so sort of having a discussion and bouncing ideas off other students and young people who share sort of similar thoughts is really refreshing and energizing to sort of give that wider perspective on where things can possibly go, and that there are solutions and people in the world who also are looking to fix this, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, Lewis. Tabitha, what did you think?
Yeah, so I was actually going to say a very similar thing. And I love that we are all kind of bounced off each other's ideas and really discussed, and even if we kind of almost debated like the ideas as well, I think that was really good, and kind of questioning things as well with like, is this really the problem? Like, we need to kind of go up and look at it from a different perspective or a different angle. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed this session today.
Wonderful. I'm glad you did. Jeet, what are your thoughts on today?
So I believe that actually it was really good to like listen to everyone. It's actually really good to understand from everybody's experience and expertise, like what they think about this marine plastic pollution, which is, I think, is one of the major causes which is destroying the nature these days. And solutions, as Aryan likely mentioned, that solutions are there, but the policies thing, that is which I also think is a major issue, which we think in 2 weeks time we will try to get some literature review and reach somewhere to some targeted audience where we can start this talk in that level where we can start initiating some change.
Wonderful. And Aryan, would you go next?
Hey, first of all, thank you guys for having me. It's amazing to see like-minded people discussing. I never thought, I thought this was a problem for for the bigger generation, for the people maybe next to come. But I'm really happy that people want to be the carrier of change now, and I'm really hoping we are able to work something out with this initiative, reach a wider audience, and actually make a difference. Thank you.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Lillian.
I think we've found some really solid footing with our discussion, starting things off, coming up with these ideas. As Tabitha mentioned, like having a bit of questioning and debate has just added more dimension to our discussion. And I really like how it's been summarized. We've got kind of two groups of people to look at, the consumers and the producers, which makes it all the more interesting. I hope my being in a car adds some comedic break to this discussion. But yeah, it's been great to join you all, and thank you for inviting me, hosts, to this conversation. I'm looking forward to adding some social media star power to this issue. But yeah, I think it's a great start.
Thank you so much, Lily. We were so lucky to have all of you all on board. So that brings us to the end of the second installation of Green Outlook. A big thanks again to our panelists for setting aside time from their busy schedule to take part in this event.
Thank you for having us.
Our panelists will now be working on their team project over the next 2 weeks. Look out for the outcomes of this project, which will be published on the Green Outlook group page on Facebook and LinkedIn on the 9th of November. So you can then see how this outstanding group of students have really put today's discussion into action. Thank you for joining us on our journey, and we'll hope to hear from you soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.